Ready? Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Lift up your banner, let the anthems ring. Praises to our King. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is He. Lift up your banner, let the anthems ring. Praises to our King. Great and mighty is the Lord our God. Great and mighty is, great and mighty is, great and mighty is He. Good job, guys.
So nice to meet y'all. I'm Zach. My dad is the pastor here. Little fun fact for you. This is actually out of the 12 years that I've been teaching, the first time my dad's going to hear me in this type of atmosphere. Like, he's never been in one of my my Bible studies or anything like that. So no offense to any of you. He's the only one I'm really talking to, right? Because he's the only one I really care about whose opinion, you know? No offense. But we're going to be talking about what a man of God is. 6 weeks ago, I'll tell you what, it's weird. You have something in your spirit. You go, I'm not going to preach. I'm not a preacher. I'm not this. I'm not that. You have all these crisis of conscience, and you kind of tell yourself what you are, and you're like, well, I haven't been called, right? And that's kind of where you sit. You're like, well, when God calls me, I'll go. And then you start dreaming about preaching, and then you're like, well, I guess I got to talk to my dad. Believe it or not, I've been having dreams about not your faces in particular, but just this. So welcome. You get to enjoy my first time. And I am a teacher, so I don't want to mess up any of my weekly routines. So real quick, we can't go one by one, but how's your week so far? Give me a 1 to 5. Oh, you give it 10. All right. All right, good. All right, anybody have a 1? Yeah. All right, we'll be praying for you. All right. Cece, you get to share it. No, I'm kidding. All right, so looking at what a man of God is, you kind of read the Bible and you talk to your wife, and this is what I was doing at least, try to figure out what a man of God is. You all have a picture when I say man of God, and it's probably a guy in a suit, right? Walks with his suspenders and his Bible, and like this type deal. Because that's what I picture. I'm like, yeah, that's Pastor Brown in my mind. You guys may or may not have met him or had the privilege, but that's what I picture as a man of God. First things first, I want to go ahead and tell you my prerequisites. I was saved in the fall of 1998 at Awana's at Mendoza Elementary School. I think that's the first step of being a man of God, right? You have to be saved. So going down the checklist, the next thing, I was baptized May 8th, 1999, alongside my mom on Mother's Day. Pretty cool. I think that's the next step you have to take in order to be considered a man of God. But I think the biggest part about your life has to be who people see when they look at you. People that are men of God, right? Men that are men of God, I don't see Austin. I see Jesus, right? A man of God, you see Jesus in them. And none of us are perfect. We all know that. Can I turn this off? I don't like the hum. Maybe. You guys got the inheritance of my dad right there. You got to rock on, All right, so The first jumping off verse, what I call the diving board of any lesson, is how we get into the pool first, right? And that was 1 Thessalonians 16 through 21. Sorry, Bill, I only gave you 21. But I think that as a man of God, your relationship with Christ has to be strong. And in any marriage counseling class that you'll ever go to, kids, they'll tell you that to form a good relationship, you need communication, communication, communication. So if you want a good relationship with Christ, you got to talk to him. So endlessly or ceaselessly praying and giving thanks is something that has to be done daily. Most of the time, I find my alone time driving or in between getting calls about a kid doing something silly in class. And I'll be going, God, why am I here? You know, the standard stuff. You know, what do you want from me? Am I doing okay? What do you want in my life today? When I go to work, and when I see other men of God go to work, I see them working for Jesus. I don't see them working for their bosses or the people around them or looking for accolades or awards. They go and they work for their boss, Jesus. And when you go to work that way, you always feel like you're doing something for the betterment of, you know, everybody. It's hard to fake being a man of God. You guys noticed I took like 2 or 3 months or maybe 4 months. I don't even know. The time was just whirling. I couldn't do the announcements because I couldn't get up and fake a smile. I didn't want to present to you guys something that was false, something that wasn't real. So I had to take a step back and reevaluate and get back with God and talk more and more and figure out what was going to be right and if I was even called to do something as small as the announcements. Was I called to be a youth worker? What am I called for? And those are self-reflective questions that we all have to ask ourselves in our walk with Jesus, right? When we're going from point A to point B, we don't just mindlessly go. You got to look at the self. I mean, you know the devil's always after you. The enemy's always looking for ways for you to stumble, looking for any way they can trip you up, or he can trip you up. The scariest part about being a man of God is the devil knows every single issue you've ever had. And then what's scarier to think about is he knows every issue your dad has ever had, and your grandfather, and so on and so on and so forth. So the devil knows just how to get at us, right? And being a man of God, it's just like the Bible says about being a teacher. You know, you're going to be scrutinized a little bit more. You're called to a higher purpose type deal. When you're trying to be the best version of yourself you can be, and you're trying to be a man of God, it seems like the enemy attacks a little bit harder. And unfortunately, he's shooting all those arrows at you, just waiting for one to land. Next part about being a man of God, we're going to go back to the first man, Adam. All right, so that's Genesis 2:24. If you guys want to go ahead and jump over there. So I have this cute thing that I used to tell wrestlers because they go, you know, I'm a grown man. I say, no, you're not. Get away from me. I'll beat you in a wrestling match. No, you won't. And they go, well, I'm a grown man. I go, well, this is the test, and this is just a cute thing I used to say. You know you're a real man, right? You're a grown man when you can sit down at your table, grab a box of cereal that you bought, put it in a bowl that you own, and eat it in the house that you pay for. That's when you know you're a man. And they go, whoa. I'm like, you ain't there yet. You're still, getting your cereal bought by mama. But the next thing I kind of attribute to being a man of God, and this is not for everybody. I know not everyone is ever going to get married, Some people have been called to a different type of life. For me, I was reading this, and I had to leave my mother and father and be joined to my wife. So therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined with his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And I think that that's the next step of becoming a man of God, is kind of like shedding the overall child image and being with your wife. For me, not that I've done anything by myself. Everything I've gotten is, by the grace of God and people that love me. But I stole my dad's prayer when I was a kid. I said, make me a showcase of your riches and glory, and God has, starting with my wife. He gave me my wife, and I got to experience a different type of lifestyle. We're not perfect, but 99.9% of the time we are of one mind, unless we're talking about dinner. It's a joke, but it's the truth, you know what I mean? Moving on into, my dad gave me sorry, I keep saying my dad. If you have ever been in one of my Bible studies, who do I quote the most? My dad, right? Just like you guys, your mom and dad are going to be somebody that you quote a lot, right? Which is not a bad thing. Let's go ahead and jump into Proverbs. My dad gave me not a chore, but a challenge when I was a kid. He said, hey, read a proverb a day for an entire month, and it'll bless your life, and it did. I never told him I did it, because I wasn't doing it for him. I did it for me. But I was thinking, and again, I know I just said, shed the childlike portion of yourself, but I do consider myself a son. So anytime I read in the Bible anything pertaining to a son, it hits home. So we're going to be in Proverbs 3, and I'm going to read 1 through 9. So I'll give you guys a second to get there. I was a young man. I had lots of really awesome male mentors. My now father-in-law was my youth pastor. The best man at my wedding is now my cousin by marriage. I could go down the list, all my coaches, and, obviously my father. But when you talk about going to people that you respect to figure out what to do next, at Desert Hills Baptist Church, I've never been lacking. So, chapter 3, my son, do not forget my law. My son, I read that as Zach. But let your heart keep my commandments, for length of days and long life and peace they will add to you. You can't buy peace. Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart, and so find favor and high esteem in the sight of God and man. Let's park there for a second. When you write it on your heart, nobody can take it from you. I love a movie. It's rated R. Don't hate me, all right? But Shawshank Redemption. He's a prisoner. It's written after Count of Monte Cristo, but this guy Andy Dufresne is wrongly accused of murder, and he's serving out his sentence. And at one point, he gets to play a record for all of the prisoners to hear, and it always hit me hard because he locks himself in, and he gets punished for showing a little bit of freedom to the rest of the prisoners. And he's joking after he gets out of the hole, and he says, I got to sing the whole time I was in there. They go, you got to take that record player back in there with you? He goes, no, it was right here. And right here. They can't take it from you. And that's what we have to do with God's word. Because if it's here and here, we can live it. I know kids at school, they'll sit there and they'll memorize every word to a song. They've got it. And they'll sing it, and they'll repeat it, and it's all repetition. They go up and down the halls, they're singing this one song, but you ask them, what 2 divided by 2, x plus blah, 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 blah. I don't do algebra. But you ask them one of those questions, and they're not going to really answer. Usually, when you ask somebody to answer you a question, if the faster they come up with it, means it's readily available. It's, easy to recall. The only way you get that is by continually doing something. It doesn't just come by osmosis. And I try to explain that to the students, and they're like, no. One of my favorite things is a little video of a little Korean boy, and he has his textbook, and he's going like this, because that's how he learns. He's scooping all the words up and putting them in his head. I wish it's how it worked, but that's not how it works. It's the cutest thing. But that's not how it works. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the... Good job, Austin. Try it again. Let everybody see. It's going to get in there. You got to write this on the tablet of your heart. If you want to be a man or a woman of God, you have to have this on recall. My first year teaching at Las Vegas High School, I was challenged quite a bit. Everybody knew my dad was a preacher. So they go, you think you're better. Tell us this, that, and the other. Why does God ABC? And I'm not going to give you all their talking points and their debate topics, but I'd sit there and, to my shame, I didn't have the answers. It was the most embarrassing thing on the planet, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I could witness to Zach McCoy right now if I just knew. If I just knew the answer to this question. So, in 2013, with the help of my wife, we started to read the Bible more before bed, because, they tell you that's when the best time to study is, right? Because you can sleep and you dream about it, and then eventually you're preaching. But in the next 6 years, so I taught at Las Vegas High School for 7 years. In the next 6 years, I went to lunch with Zach McCoy, who I consider a friend and a colleague, who is a devout atheist. And every time those types of debates came up, I had answers. And I don't know his heart, but at least I can sit before God and know that I didn't fall on my face. If this guy chooses to live that way and not choose Jesus, I did everything I could. So you can't buy peace. But if you read enough, you can get some. Verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path or paths. Understanding is a funny thing, right? You think that if you practice enough, you can understand pretty much anything. But that's not always how it goes, right? Sometimes it takes you falling in the hole enough to realize I don't want to step in it, right? And all you're getting, get understanding. I like to understand things. I like to make logical conclusions about why things are the way they are, but I don't get hung up on them. Something that I try to do is just trust in God. And it serves much, much better, because there's less worry, less strife, less anxiety. I do suffer from anxiety, so when I go, God, I don't get it, but you do, and that's good enough. Guys, when you get to that point in your life where you're winning, right? Always acknowledge God, because you didn't do it by yourself. Every person he's put in your life has been for a purpose. They've helped you, or they've shown you an example of what to do, or sometimes what not to do. And again, trust him, and he'll direct your path. You got paths all over your life. I had a guy named, he's a coach. We just got him at Slam this year. He's a 4-time All-American, 2-time national champion. His name's Mike Abrams. Coolest dude I've ever met up to this point. And he's a Christian. And I prayed for our wrestling team before one of our matches, and he goes, ooh, I knew there was something about you. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. And he started praying with me, and it was really cool. He goes, what these guys don't understand is, there's the right way to do things, and then there's every other way. There's the right way, and then there's every other way. Guys, the right way is going to be singular. you're going to know what's right to do. So I became the restorative justice at SLAM. This is a fancy term for dean with no disciplinary action powers, which is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Besides talking in front of pretty much my job is to get kids to change what they're doing without a punishment or without any disciplinary action. Now, what I can tell you is it is hard to get a kid that's 13 or less to understand that what he did was wrong and he should have done something else. And I say he because most of the kids are boys. We've got a population of 2 to 5, right? 2 girls to every 3 boys, right? So it's 5. I don't know if that's the ratio, but we got a lot more boys than we do girls. And I weep for my daughter and my nieces, because there's slim pickings. But when they come in and they go, well, I didn't know. I go, you knew. You did. You knew that leaving class with a bathroom pass and going and playing basketball was against the rules. You knew. But I can't say that, because then I'm stepping into the bounds of disciplinary action. So instead I go, well, next time, let's not do this, and this, and this, and this, right? There's the right way, and then there's every other way. I was talking to a young man today. I'm going to get real for a second. I had a girl attempt suicide last night because of some things that a boy was telling her about herself. He goes, well, I didn't mean it that way. Irrelevant. There's the right way to be with people, and there's a million wrong ways. I explained to his mother that he was not going to be returning to SLAM. It's the only disciplinary action I got to do because it got real. The restorative justice did not work with this young man, 26 incidents. Didn't deter him from what he was doing. And I sat down in front of him today and I said, I'm not going to say his name. You knew because I've told you 26 times. You knew, and you did it anyway, and it almost cost somebody their life. Now, that young lady was going through some other things, but sometimes all it takes is a nudge. And that young man was that nudge. Let God direct your path. As a man of God, it's easy. You just let him be the rudder. It steers the whole ship. I'm not saying that I don't try to grab it sometimes. We all do that, all right? And it doesn't work out. I hate to be a spoiler for you. If you try to take the reins of your own life, it's going to end up bad. Verse 7, do not be wise in your own eyes. Got a lot of these people I work with. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones. I mean, it says it, you know. I got a lot of highly educated people that I work with, but no common sense. It's very funny how that works. They've got pieces of paper and they call me, they go, this person just left my room without permission. I said, well, why didn't you stop him? Well, I told him it was against the rules. Sometimes that doesn't work. I kind of teach doctors how to interact with children sometimes, because they're wise in their own eyes, man. They'll sit there and they'll tell me every single theory about whatever they're teaching that day. And man, they've got that down. They're career students and they're really good at writing papers. They can't have a conversation with a 17-year-old. It's pretty interesting. I know that's judgmental. I'm sorry. Observation. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Again, when we come to these crossroads in our lives, and sometimes it's straight, right? And then there's a million different things that you can do. Sin has pleasure for a season. They're going to look real good, guys. Kiddos, every other option is going to look great. And sometimes you're going to turn and go down a path and you go, see, I didn't die. Just like Eve, right? Surely we were going to die if we did this. But we didn't, see? And then you do it again and again and again. And man, this is, but Jeremy Craddock, a guy that I grew up with, overdosed on fentanyl a month ago. Gone. You're going to have 1,000 different paths that you can take. If you stick with God being the rudder, he's going to take you on the right path. It's your choice. That's what makes us different from the animals, guys. You get to choose. It's a beautiful, terrifying thing. All right, second set of verses. I love Proverbs. What I learned doing my little study in the months in 2010 was, or for the month in 2010, was that Proverbs is pretty cool. It gives you a to-do and then a not-to-do. You want to be a fool, or do you want to be a wise man? It's pretty simple. Foolish people do this, wise people do this. All right? So this is guidance for the young. Let's go ahead and look at what a wicked man will do. So let's go ahead and go to chapter 6, verse 12. And this is, it's what a wicked man is. All right, my version says, a worthless person, a wicked man, walks with a perverse mouth. He winks with his eyes, he shuffles his feet, he points with his fingers. I looked it up. It's kind of interesting. I was like, what does it mean, shuffling with your feet? It means you're sneaky. You're sleuthful. You're trying to hide what you're doing. And usually when you're hiding what you're doing, kids, what is it? Probably not the best thing to do, right? If you have to hide, probably not right. Perversity is in his heart. He devises evil continually. He sows discord. Therefore, his calamity shall come suddenly. Suddenly he shall be broken without remedy. Now, I've been broken. That's not fun. When you're trying to pick your pieces up by yourself after you've fallen and shattered, not a fun place to be. Again, we have a choice. We can choose not to be the wicked man, right? We can choose to be the man of God. And we go back to those other things where we're choosing the right path, letting God guide our rudder, and we go through the things that, are not easy. I had a guy who professes to be a Christian tell me, if you just discipline yourself to the highest degree, life is easy. I go, oh. He's a psychology teacher at Slam. Okay? I go, well, maybe it's easier, but life is never easy for anybody. It doesn't matter what struggles you go through. Those are your struggles. They're hard, and you have to overcome them. You're going to be broken. You're going to be broken down. You're going to be built back up if you let God do it. So here are some stipulations. I do like checklists. I like to know I'm doing it right. That's how you're graded as a teacher. They give a checklist. All right, you're a 4 here. You're a 3 here. Ooh, you're a 1 here. Ashley, I'm sorry, you're a 1. No, I'm kidding. Ashley works at Slam. She actually, I took a peek at your evaluation. Fantastic. Made me look really good trying to get her hired. So these 6 things the Lord hates. And as you've heard my dad preach at least 100 times, God hates with a perfect hate. So these are the things that God hates. Yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, pride, the pride of life. A lying tongue, the hardest thing to tame is your mouth. You say stuff, you can't take it back. Once it's out there, there's no reeling it back in. Proverbs also says, be slow to wrath, be slow to anger, be quick to listen. So again, this is how not to be. And later on, it'll tell you how to be. I love Proverbs. Hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among the brethren. Back to Zach McCoy. Very high. He was a Heart of Education Award winner. He loves kids. He teaches them English. Most of them, are able to write a paper after they leave his class. He goes, well, I've never killed anybody, so I'm a pretty good guy. Why is that the measuring stick of what a good person is? How many of you guys have killed someone? You scurvy dog. He's like, yep, 45 men. All of these things God hates. So if God hates it, kids, this is my logistics speaking in my mind, right? If God hates that, I shouldn't do that. It's pretty simple. Hard to apply, right? Hard to I struggle with these things too. It's hard to tame your mouth. Tell your tongue, stop lying, man. Cut it out. Discord among the brethren is pretty heinous as well. Backbiting, talking mess, having coming out of pocket, if you want to talk in your speak, right? Gio, what else would you say? Get my name out your mouth, right? When we talk about other people, especially other Christians, and we're sowing that discord amongst us, it destroys the whole body. You got a hand made into a fist, punch in the head. A, we look silly, and B, it's not good for us. In closing, let me see, I got my father-in-law's watch on. All right. I did lose my Apple Watch, Dad. I'm sorry. I thought I knew where it was. I didn't. I thought I did. See, I had all these notes. I did all this stuff in the last 6 weeks and didn't get to none of it. Let's move on. In closing, a man of God, again, what I want you to understand is when I look at you, what I should see if you're a man of God is Jesus looking back at me. And that's the best test. Just like it says, as a man, you should be testing everything. Test the spirits. If I look at you and I see nothing but something else, no offense, but I'm not going to hang out with you. Pray for you. If you come and you want me to pray with you, I will. But if I see Jesus, I'm drawn to you like a moth to flame. And I want to be around people that love Jesus. I don't know if I'm a man of God in this study. I'll tell you, you find yourself wanting in a lot of areas when you try to figure out what a man of God is. So, just so I didn't do this for nothing, I looked at some of the people in the Bible, the men in the Bible that I considered men of God, and I looked at Moses, looked at David, looked at Solomon, and then obviously Jesus. And those were the biggest examples of obviously men of God. Jesus is God. But those are the biggest examples that I could find. And when I looked at their lives and how they lived it, it wasn't easy. Most of them were betrayed in some way, shape, or form. Came up against their own people, betraying them. And that comes back to that discord among the brethren. I think it's super important not to do that. But in closing, let's all be men or women of God. Moving forward, be the example, right? I love that old saying, be the change you want to see. Don't just talk about it. All right, little Ben Franklin for you. Well done is better than well said. Not to quote anybody, but